Hi everybody, welcome to our online teaching now, our new style of teaching. Today we're going to be talking about teaching or pyramid. Um, this is this is a program launched by WestEd or has been continued by WestEd in efforts to help us work with children that have behavior. From a mentoring point of view, this is another strategy we can use to help support children in being successful in their social emotional. So when you have teachers that might have trouble with this arena, this is the best strategy to direct them to. It's a great program. I'm just going to do a quick overview. It lasts several days of training. It's very intense. It's usually done through First Five, but it's West Ed, the ones that really take lead on it. And I did the training and I did this PowerPoint to help us get through. Uh, the cool part of this is that it's an evidence-based practice, so that this means that has been proven and tried and it does work. So if you apply the strategies with fidelity, it will help a child succeed in their emotional, social, emotional behavior or learning um, to really help with those challenging behaviors. And I think that's one of the reasons that teachers leave the field so frequently is because they don't have the right support. Why does healthy social emotional development looks like? So when you think of a child that is socially and emotionally really well set, these are some of the characteristics you're going to find. They have a sense of confidence and competence. They have the ability to develop friendship with children and adults. Those kids that are socially so easygoing, huh? Ability to persist at a task so they can finish what they've started. They have the ability to follow directions. So they can follow directions. Go get your coat and they can do it. They don't need extra help. They can talk about feelings and emotions. And they can manage their strong emotions. So when they're upset, yes, they do get upset, but they can manage it so it doesn't get over out of control. And one of the most important for me, it's the ability of building empathy. I think this is how we become more kind and loving to one another if we understand what the other person is going through. So a lot of times when we're talking about teaching, we said, oh yes, if somebody needs to learn how to read, we teach. If they need to learn how to swim, we teach. If you need to learn how to multiply, we teach. If you need to learn how to drive, we teach. But if a child doesn't know how to behave, usually we don't teach, we punish or teach. A lot of us tend to punish before we teach. When is the best? Oh, I'm gonna move my camera. When is the best time to teach? The best time to teach is not when somebody has lost their control or their temper. It's before it happens or after. But when you're upset at this point, the only strategy we can use is to help you calm so you can come back to your thinking brain. When we teach a strategy should be before something happens by acknowledging, whoa, I noticed that you're getting upset because somebody took your Legos. Let's talk and see what we can do. Or if they've lost it and they've had, after they calm down, we can say, wow, it looks like when they took away your Legos, you became so upset. I wonder what we could do next time if somebody takes your Legos away. So the pyramid model is based on strong foundations to help every single child you have in the classroom. The first area it talks about management. The management needs to be behind in changing policies so really supporting that child and family that need that extra support. At our center, we change our policies where the children now are not, um, where the children now are never taken out or out of school. We work with the families until we succeed in finding what the child needs. It's really helping them find what they need. Then at the very base of the pyramid, we have what's in blue, nurturing and responsive relationships and high quality environments. If you create great relationships and environments, 80% of your children are going to be successful. Then there is those 5 or 6 kids that still need extra support. That's when we work with the targeted social emotional support strategies. And those are to help those 5 kids that did not seem to get really supported when we were working in the blue area with environments and relationships. But then there is the last group. There might be that one or maybe two children that you have that really don't respond to anything you've done. And that's when you do an intensive intervention. So this is a model that builds upon layer and layer to build strong connections. The first layer that we talked in blue was building relationships. What does this mean for me? Like what I took from the training, the best 3 hints that I got was teachers need to reflect. This is time for us to take a pause, a deep breath. This is not about the child, it's how we react to the child. A lot of times when somebody's pushing our buttons, we lose it. Or when we see a situation that it's hard to handle, we react in not the best way. So if you see 2 children fighting, we tend to scream, ah, stop. At this point, what we're talking about is no, don't do that. Just take a deep breath, stop, think, what shall I do? And then act. Take that extra minute. Instead of judging that child, take that extra minute to go to them and say, whoa, whoa, let's stop this. I notice you guys are having a hard time. What's happening? Instead of just yelling and putting some punishment on their brains, huh? So a lot has to do with what we do, not what the child is doing. Learning about ourselves. The second one is like a magic under pyramid. It's called the positive descriptive acknowledgement, PDA. And the PDA talks about focusing on what's being done right in a very specific way. We don't want to judge or praise people for what they're doing. You're doing such a great job. Look at you. I love what you're doing. Oh, you look so pretty today. Those are all our judgments, and they're very hard to leave aside. What we're talking about here is being specific about what we're looking at a child doing. Whoa, when you pick that paper from the floor, you made our room clean. Oh, when you gave Dora a hug, you were being friendly. So becoming really specific on what we're talking about that we want a child to continue doing. It's recommended to do 5 PDAs to one, um, negativity or kind of instruction comment. So we should say 5 positive things to each child to one negative. Now, when you think of that, you can apply it to not only children, but adults. We tend to focus on what didn't go so right instead of focusing on what we did right. If we focus on what we do right, we're going to get more of it. If we focus on what we did wrong, we will get more of it too. The next one is building positive relations. We need somebody that is crazy about you. We've talked about this in class too. It's so important to really have that special someone. One of the things they talk about it fills up your piggy bank as like in emotion. So when we're using these PDAs or when we take our time to think, or when we give notes about positiveness, we're filling up our heart with good notes, and they call them piggy banks. The next level in blue was supportive environments. We want environments that really support and foster the children's growth and that they avoid problems. So, what are some ideas on doing this? We need to look at the hot and cold spots. So, if in your classroom there is a hot spot that causes a lot of trouble, for example, maybe your gross motor area, a lot of kids might like to go there, or maybe your block area, too many kids are there, so it becomes problematic. But there might be some cold spots, like maybe your science area, nobody's ever in that area. It's making us think, how can you move things from the block area to the science area? So now you're separating the kids and you have less children in different spots, and the classroom seems to not be conglomerated into one specific area. Having clear schedules and routines so the kids can know what's happening. They need that predictability to feel safe. Reducing transitions. Why do we do so many transitions? Stand up in line to go wash your hands. Stand up in line to go brush your teeth. What can a child do in those transitions if they're not waiting? How can we eliminate some transitions? Maybe let the kids, transition smoothly so it's not everybody waiting. Or maybe our schedule has a lot of different transitions that we can eliminate. We need to start thinking of our large and small group times. Our group time should be the age of the children plus one. So if you're working with 5-year-olds, you should have 5 children plus one, 6. If you're working with twos, you should have 2 plus one. Start thinking about how could you do those large, small into smaller groups. And our expectations for behavior, we have to be clear. We're not saying rules, we're saying expectations. This is what we expect you to do. In our school, we have 4: friendly, responsible, safe, and kind. And with those, we're always entitling and going back to them. They're setting positive. You were friendly when you gave your friend a hug. So we're always talking about our expectations. We don't do rules anymore. We do expectations. We expect you to be safe. To be safe, you need to walk on the floor and climb in the climbing structure, or walk inside and run outside. That's how you stay safe in our classroom. Observing and positive focus. So again, this is going to those PDAs. We want to give 5 positives to 1 negative. Here's some pictures of our spaces in the classroom. We have our space to be alone, and it has trees where we write notes for the children about the positive things that they're doing, and then you put them inside their leaves. Here is a time schedule with a hand so the kids know what time of the day it is and how we're moving. So then we go to the next area, which I'm going to put pause. We're going to resume in our next video for the social emotional teaching strategies.